Hi, fifth grade. We are going to add to our pictures. So if you don't have your city from last month, please pause the video and go and grab it. If you did not save it, that's going to be a little bit of a problem. So you have two possible solutions. One, start from scratch and redo it, or two, try to print what you already uploaded to Google Classroom. The reason why we want to make sure we always upload things to Google Classroom is because they will always be there, and they won't get automatically deleted out of your sent folder from your email. If you can't find it in your Google Classroom because you emailed it to me, then you will have to look through your sent folder to see if you still have it, or contact me and see if I can send it back to you. So that being said, go find your picture, which would be this. And if you don't have it, you need to either print it out again from what you sent me or start over. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to learn about form and value for this lesson. And we're going to make something that looks pretty awesome. Forms are 3D figures or 3D objects. So here I have two forms. I have a rectangular prism and I have a sphere. Okay, so I have a block and I have a little golf ball. We use value to create implied forms. So this is an actual form, but here we have an implied form. So this is the actual sphere. This is the picture of a sphere. So what we do in order to make an implied form is we start with a 2D circle, and when we add value, it turns it into a 3D sphere. Same with the rectangular prism, which is what we're going to be creating. We're going to be creating lots of three-dimensional rectangular prisms, which are implied. They're not actual. They're going to be a picture of. So we're creating that illusion of something that's three-dimensional. But this time, instead of using line, we're going to use value. Okay, so value, we know, is the lightness or the darkness of a color. So it goes from really, really dark, and it gets lighter and lighter and lighter gradually. So what we could do in order to make that dark, dark value is we can press really hard with our crayon or our chalk, or we can blend colors together that would be really dark together. We can color a lot more in the dark value area. And then as we get towards that light value area, and the lightest value will be white, as we get towards there, we would lessen up on our pressure that we're putting on our crayon or a pencil. We could blend with lighter colors or less dark colors or no color, and we would do less layers of coloring as it gets lighter. Okay, so value, we know, can make 2D shapes appear to be 3D forms. And what you're going to need for this project is just your picture and whatever you choose to add color. So you may choose to add just make it black and white and use just pencil. You could use colored pencil, you could use crayon, or you can use chalk. I don't suggest that you use paint. It's difficult to change the value using paint and to keep it controlled within the beautiful drawings that you're sending to me. And if you do choose to use marker at the very end to add a little more detail, that would be great. But marker won't really work well for your adding the value. Okay, so we're going to start off here with our pictures from last week. We're going to add value. We're going to have a light side and a dark side in order to make it look really 3D. And then we're going to finish it off by coloring something really awesome in the sky and adding lots of detail. Please make sure that you check the rubric before you submit your work so that you know that you're going to get your best grade. Let's get started. As I said before, this project will be focused on two elements of art: form and value. And we know that form is when an object is three-dimensional or appears to be three-dimensional, and value is the lightness or the darkness of a color. Form is a three-dimensional shape or 3D shape. It has height, depth, and width. Some forms that we may recognize are cones, cubes, spheres, and pyramids. Also, we can call rectangular prisms, triangular prisms, Forms can be actual, so actual objects I can pick up and throw across the room or walk around and view from all sides. Or forms can be implied, a picture of a form, a photograph, a drawing that appears to be 3D or creates that illusion of that third dimension. Actual forms are really 3D objects, and implied forms are really 2D pictures that look 3D. So today we are going to learn how to make a picture that's two-dimensional look three-dimensional. Do you think all forms are considered art? What would it take for the forms on this page to be turned into an actual piece of artwork? Value. Value is the lightness or the darkness of a color. It can provide visual interest and it can create a mood. It can help indicate space, light, and shadow. In second grade, we talked about value when we did highlights and shadows on our still lifes. We turned off the lights, we looked at where the lightest spots of our pumpkins and boards were, and then we looked at where the shadow, the darkest sides were. We were talking about value. We also talked about changing value in space in second grade when we painted our trees with different shades of browns and grays. Today, we're going to add value to our buildings. In this building, the artist used different values to help make the building appear 3D. So if you notice, the artist also made sure that the highlights were all on the same side of each part, which is on the right side of the building. The shadows are all on the left side. I wonder why the highlights are all on the right side and the shadows are all on the left side. Where do you think that the light source is? Where is the light coming from? If you guessed it was coming from the right-hand side, you are correct, because the right-hand side is where all of the highlights are located on the building. So the light is going right at the building, and the side that's closest to the light source would be the side that has the highlight. The side that's opposite the light source is the side that has the shadow. How do you think that value enhanced this artwork?
Okay, as I said earlier, what you're going to need is you're going to need your project from last month. So your 3D buildings that you submitted and was graded, it was due this week. So please go and find it, pause the video, go and find it. If you need to, you can print it from Google Classroom or you can redo it, just follow the lesson from last week. In addition to this, you may want a pencil or you may want to use colored pencils. You can also use crayons, and chalk will work well. So pause the video, get whatever you need. If you want to add details, you can also add details with markers, but I don't want you to do the whole lesson in marker. So pause the video and get what you need. Okay. So what we're going to do is after you choose what materials you want to use to add value, you also can combine materials as well, but you may want to save that step to the very end. You're going to shade each building with two values. You're going to do one light and one dark. So let's take a look at our rectangular prism. And if you see, let's put it like kind of the way this one is, we have one dark and one light. Okay, and if you notice, the light side is over here and the dark side is over here. So that tells you that my light source is coming from that direction. If I move this here, the light is on one side and the dark is on the other. Light source hasn't changed, but now our light and shadow is starting to change because of where the object is in respect to the light source. So I want you to think about that. Think about where are you going to put your highlights and where are you going to put your shadows. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to choose some colors and we're going to shade with a dark value one side of your building. So the whole side is dark. If you choose to, you can blend black with a color to make it even darker. Once you finish that side, you can take the other side of the building and you're going to shade with your lightest value. And remember, in order to make a very light value, you can either color very lightly. For the dark value, you would press very hard. Or for the light value, you would do just one layer. And for the dark value, you would do multiple layers. You can also blend white to make a color lighter. So each building will have a light side and a dark side. Try to have some sort of a plan about where the light and the dark will be. Some people did hand in projects where they didn't have two sides to a building, like in this building. Some people had buildings like this building and this building where it was just one flat side. So I have two ideas for how you can use value to make them look more visually interesting. So if you look at this building, I shaded from the bottom very dark and I got lighter as it got higher. And then on this building, I shaded on one side dark value and it got lighter as it got closer to the other side. So those are two options for how to add value to a flat building and not a 3D building. And then obviously I'm going to finish this one, but if you notice, each of my buildings has a lot of detail, which is also going to be part of your rubric. So if you haven't checked it out yet, make sure you do check out your rubric before the end of this lesson. So what happens if I put a highlight on the wrong side? Well, you can leave it. You know, we are only in 5th grade, so it's okay as long as you're trying. But as I'm looking, I'm noticing that my highlight for this one probably should have been here, and I made that my shadow. So I have a couple of solutions. So one thing I can do is I can kind of take this this color that I put in the other ones and like hope that I can, you know, make this a little bit lighter. I could blend all of my highlights with a little bit of yellow and blue. So obviously for this one I'm using some chalk. So I don't want to just like layer too much chalk up because it'll make the whole thing messy. But maybe I add a little bit of blue to the other highlights, or maybe one or two other highlights just to make it look unified. Remember our lesson from last week about unity? We want to kind of repeat the same colors as much as we can. And then I can color this one with that darker blue. And I can kind of save my work a little bit with some creative problem solving. Okay, so just here with a really quick solution, I just really changed my color scheme and it works. It's not perfect, but it works better than before. Now, our last step, once we draw the buildings, you can add in some more details. Also, remember I said you can use markers to add details, but I didn't really want you to use markers for the whole thing. If you are tracing details that you drew with a pencil and a ruler, it is a good idea to bring that ruler back out, because if you don't use the ruler on your straight lines when you trace them, they're no longer going to be straight, and all that hard work that you did in the beginning is kind of going to be for nothing. So bring out all those beautiful details if you can. And then for our final step, what we're going to do is we're going to create a sky. Now, here I got a little bit creative and I created a sky that really is not a realistic sky, but this is kind of more of like a fantasy, or what we call surrealism, which is beyond real. So I just created that in the sky, and if you notice, I did a lot of value inside the eye, I did value in the skin, and the value blended into the value in the color. Oh my goodness, Mrs. TH really dorked out on the value, but hey, that is the project, isn't it? So let's go back to this picture. Let's say I wanted to do more of a realistic sky and I really want it to be dynamic. Here I have all cool colors. Let's add in a warm colored sunrise or sunset. Let's see. Oh, thank goodness that wasn't in marker, right? Okay, so let's say in the center, I want to start with some yellow. Okay, so I'm going to do real dark value. Remember, value is important to continue to show me that you understand. And here I'm going to kind of lighten up my value. And then I'm going to blend in some other warm colors to really make it blend together nicely. So here we go. My background is finished. My sky is finished. I do still need to finish that one building. I could even make it a little more creative by adding something like a little airplane in the center. You could draw Superman or a hot air balloon. Add in some clouds if you want to. I really like the way the warm colors look with the cool colors, or you could just take a look at your color wheel and choose some opposite colors. Remember, here's our color wheel again. So if you had a lot of purples, doing a sky with a lot of yellow would really be dynamic. Opposite the color wheel, green and red, blue and orange, or you could do black and white and color. So if you do your buildings in black and white and your sky in color, that'll really give it some pop. You could cut something out of a magazine, like if I were to cut a hot air balloon or a little bird and pop it in there, or like I did, I just drew a little airplane and just put it in there, or not. Don't forget to check the rubric. Make sure everything is shaded or colored. If I were to hand this in, my art teacher would take off points for this building not being finished. So as this picture is finished, make sure yours is as well. Check that rubric for your best grade. And you do not have to fill it out. Upload your work and turn it into Google Classroom. I have had a lot of people emailing me with questions. Continue to do so. I'm here to help you, and I'm very happy to do a Google Meet if you need some more help. Good luck and be creative. I cannot wait to see all of your amazing ideas. Take it to the next level and put a lot of your personality in this. I cannot wait to see.